Scott Riggs started from the pole here at the Kentucky Speedway. He's led all 17 laps. 200 laps, 300 miles make up the distance.
Not only did he just have a new baby, new little boy there, but it's Father's Day. So, I mean, he's got a double bonus. That cat's going to be hard to deal with tonight. They're going to have a hard time keeping up with him. He is pumped.
And he's pretty fired up to begin with.
Doesn't take a whole lot.
No, he's on ready all the time. What about it, Matt Yoakum?
Well, he is a motivated little guy right now. He is leading, but DW is reporting into his crew chief, Harold Holly. The car is free in the center of the corner, loose, but the car is decent on entry. They're feeling like their pit window should start about lap 65 to 67. That's when they're anticipating tightening up that race car.
Well, you know, Matty, I mean, right now, the car being a little free, that's probably a little uncomfortable for him to drive, but I believe as the sun goes down, the track cools off a little bit, the car will tighten up with him, and he'll find himself right back in the catbird seat before the night's over with. Looks like these guys are closing up on him right now, but they'll get that thing tightened up. She'll be perfect.
See the 21 car just behind Riggs. There's Jay Sauter, 23 of Scott Wimmer. And you see the interval, the upper left-hand corner of your screen.
See, one of the things you got to be able to do, a really sharp crew chief, really sharp driver, is anticipate what's going to happen to the car as it goes into a run. So tonight, not only you got to figure out what the car's going to do, but you got to think about what the track's going to do as well. They'll get that car tightened up for him before too long, and he'll be in great shape.
Jay Sauter in that 21 car has never won a NASCAR Busch Series race. Did win in the Truck Series for Richard Childers. That's a Richard Childers car. And Keller in the 57 starting to move up. He's in fourth, and he wants to pull right at that lead pack. Let's go to pit road.
Steve, Darrell, standing here in the 21 car pit. They started off a little bit loose also, but they're anticipating the racetrack to kind of come to them. And Jay's starting to report in. The car is feeling better as the track starts to cool down. A lot of drivers are loose right at the moment, but they're all looking for this racetrack to tighten up as it cools.
Yeah, most of the time, and Jeff knows this, you start a race, you haven't been out there, even though you have happy hour, haven't been out there with this many cars on the racetrack. This track's very fast, it's very smooth. You're going to get a little draft, you're going to pick up a little speed, you're going to enter the corners a little harder, and the cars will be a little bit loose with you. But that's not all bad. Get a caution here, get a quick pit stop, tighten them up, and you're good to go.
44 of Mike Harmon on pit road. The 31 of David Green made a quick stop to pit road as well. And Scott Riggs is now coming into traffic, lap traffic. The 77, Brad Teague just in front of him.
And the thing I want to hear from my crew chief or Jeff down there is don't just take it easy. We know we can fix the car. We can take a spring rubber out. We can drop the track bar. We can take a little air out of the right rear tire. We can tighten you up.
Larry Foyt in the 14. Seventh position, right in front of Ricky Hendrick. Ricky Hendrick turned 22 this year.
And don't forget what I told you. I've been my inside source told me that 5 car was going to be good tonight.
I know you have sources, but you came. I mean, that's a pretty bold statement.
Old Carnac, C-A-R-N-A-C-K, Carnac. He knows what he's talking about.
Look there at the top 4 cars. Riggs in the 10, Sauter in the 21, Scott Wimmer in the 23 is third, Keller is fourth.
What I enjoy about this racetrack is that they can pass. You can run outside, you can get on the outside of somebody. We got a couple of really good distinctive grooves. You don't have to just ride around on the white line, and that's where that cookie cutter mile-and-a-half thing comes from. The tracks you go to where you can't pass, you just follow each other.
And Randy LaJoie agrees with you, Darrell. He said every one of those tracks is different. Same thing. Don't call it a cookie cutter track. Well, Scott Riggs is leading early here in Kentucky. Welcome back to the Kentucky Speedway. Scott Riggs continues to lead. He's led every lap of 29. New father.
Yeah, and Jay Sauter, you know, Steve, closed up to the back bumper of Scott, but it's like his car all of a sudden tightened up, which I felt like it would, and he's been able to drive back away from these guys. And let me look at this, Steve. You got a Ford leading, you got a Chevrolet running second, and you got a Pontiac running third. A lot of parity here. I never hear the complaining in the Busch Series about the rules like you do in the Winston Cup Series.
Well, Darrell Waltrip had it on a good source that Ricky Hendrick was going to be a factor. And there he is, 5th.
I'm going to give my source a raise. I'm telling you, they were right on that kid.
Ricky Hendrick started 14th this evening. There you see his progression. 21 years old last year when he was the youngest driver to win a NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race at Kansas. Hey, wait a minute. You used to drive for his dad. Maybe that was the source. The light bulb just went.
Yeah, you figured it out. I talked to Rick earlier today.
You dog.
Yeah, I hated to tell you that my source was his dad, but Rick and I were laughing. He said he was really good in happy hour. They told him the car was really, really good. And Rick says, he kind of laughed. He said, but you know how many times I've heard that before?
Yeah.
But it's panning out tonight. He is really good, and he's going to have the lead here before too long. Whoa, trouble.
Trouble. Hank Parker Jr. By himself between turns 1 and 2. And
boom, hard lick
boy,
left
he
side.
hit hard.
Hard lick left side. Lots of damage. That car's not going anywhere.
Darrell, he told us last night that he was not happy with his race car. He said he was, you know, so confused about what to do. He was going to put his Las Vegas setup underneath the car and just kind of start all over.
Well, you know, it never fails. If you have a rough racetrack, it's too rough and you can't stay on it. You got a smooth racetrack, it's too smooth and we can't figure out what to do. Yeah. So it's kind of between a rock and a hard place. The track is so smooth, it takes a really, I think, trick shock package to make your stuff work. Probably some kind of, if Larry was here and Jeff might be able to follow up, double digressive throw down with maybe a spark plug and a rocker arm and
valve in there,
some roller rockers or something inside of it. You know.
Somebody opened up the Penske shock manual and showed it to me, and I was like, oh my God, I don't want to see that.
I don't want to see that. I can't believe they can get all that stuff inside that little tube.
Well, I couldn't understand it.
Nobody can.
No. Well, here come the leaders, DW. Matter of fact, here comes just about everybody.
Say, be a good time to stay out and get 5 bonus points.
Which looks like the 38 car. Christian Elder did just that.
If you're at the back, you might as well hang out there, get you 5 points, and come on down and get you some tires. Get some Eagles. Jeff.
All right, 21 cars coming in. Jay Sauter. Butch Hilton is called for a minor air pressure adjustment. Darrell, you were exactly right. He was too tight right in the center when he got up on Scott Riggs. Matt?
Jeff, Scott Riggs slides to a stop. A 2-tire change. They're going to pack that fuel stuff full of fuel. He puts in gear. Oh, he stalls it. He stalls it. He's now finally down and away. They did make a slight wedge adjustment, Darrell.
Yeah, it should be something very minor. The way that car was running, don't want to get it too tight. Some little minor thing, half pound of air, a little track bar, a little wedge, but not all 3.
No, and be subtle.
Yes.
Let's take a look on board.
Don't get me loose.
And don't get me loose. Fred Wanke said that. On board with Johnny Sauter, Hank Parker Jr. right in front of him.
Hank. Oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
That was a fine how do you do.
I don't think that needs any words.
Nope.
It's a great picture.
We'll be right back to the Kentucky Speedway. You're watching FX. Caution out for the second time this evening. Good news, Hank Parker Jr. getting out of that Dodge, which is pretty used up, DW.
Yeah, and he looks pretty stunned. I mean, that's a hard lick on the driver's side. Good to see him get out of that race car.
Hey, looky there. Who was the last driver to get their first NASCAR Busch Series win and go on to win the championship in the same season? What about it?
Well, let me think about that. Butch Lindley.
I didn't hear the Pet Boys music.
I didn't either. That's why I'm not really sure about that one.
Well, the answer is Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 1998.
Oh, in that era. I thought you meant a long time ago.
We'll be right back to Kentucky.